Whoa, whoa. WrestleMania. Fighting to survive. Pump it up, pump it up. Here we go, Bob Squad. Oh, whoa. WrestleMania. Fighting to survive. Pump it up, pump it up. Hey, oh my goodness, what is happening right now? Is it WrestleMania 11? No, it's not. Is it WrestleMania 13? Close but no cigar, no water in the pool, lights are on but nobody's home. No siree Bob. Hey wait, I'm Bob. It's WrestleMania 12 from 1996, March 31st. And you, if you're in the United States and you can hear my voice, you can find it on the Peacock, the NBC-owned WWE Network app, and with much searching, you can find that they named it under WrestleMania because everything's a TV show with them. They don't understand wrestling, so it's under WrestleMania Season 12. That's how you find WrestleMania in Peacock or any of the Summer Slams and Royal Rumbles and probably not much else. Just by seasons, yes. So like there was one season of WrestleMania in '85 and a sixth season of WrestleMania in 1990 and so on and so forth. So we just finished season 37 of WrestleMania. Oh God, it kills me. It just kills me. What have we done? Wrestling's over. Let's talk. It reminds me of my grandmother, my grandma Ann. That's not her legal name, but be that as it may, she's dead. Um, she would always say to me, at the um, at the end of my birthday or at the end of Christmas, let's say it was Christmas dinner, okay? She'd be like, "Christmas is over. Christmas is over, Robbie. Christmas, there's no more. You have to wait a whole year." Which is depressing when you're 7. Like, a year is a lifetime. A year's still kind of a long time. But yeah, that was like, ugh. You're 8, you're 6, whatever. You're a single digit number years old, and your birthday's over. You gotta wait on no more birthday, it's over. Oh, thanks. Well, I was enjoying that. Just only halfway through the day, but I'm glad I got that to think about. Grandma, it's over. No more. No more, Robbie. It's okay. Well, wrestling is over. There's no more wrestling, Robbie. It was actually my grandpa Angelo, her husband, who got me into pro wrestling. That's a fun story for another day. I'm gonna save that. You know what? I might save that for the 100th episode. Maybe I'll do that story and a few of my wrestling WXW experiences. That might be fun. That might be fun. How we got here. Episode 100 of Hardest Part of the Ring. Let's talk about WrestleMania 12. 1996. What an interesting show. Uh, History looks back at this show and fans kind of look at it and go, well, that's a one match show because of the Iron Man match with Bret and Shawn, and they are right. It is a one match show. But historically, though, there's a lot of weird little notes to this show that over time actually mean more than they did at the time. So it's not a boring show by any stretch of the imagination. The main event is actually one of my favorite matches, and no one talks about it because of stupid goddamn Montreal. And and with Montreal, they were actually having a good match for like 12, 15 minutes or whatever before the finish, which, let's be honest, the finish kind of overshadows the rest of anything else that goes on. They were doing great for a while. Things didn't go so well at the end. I'm not going to talk about Montreal. Talk about WrestleMania 12. This was the time where they were doing the free for all. Now, if you weren't familiar, the free for all was a thing where on the preview guide channel, whatever your TV menu station was, where the bars, the shows are listed in these little boxes and they go really slowly. And if you miss it, you got to wait a whole another 5 minutes to see what was on a station. It was like a walking, it was like a really slow crawling TV guide on your screen. But in the upper left hand corner, for a half an hour before a lot of pay per views in '96, they would have a show called Free for All. Get it? It's a free for all, but you don't have to pay for it. It's free for all. Wordplay, LOL, waka waka. This one was an interesting one because not only did I believe the tag team championships changed, I think somehow Sonny got she screwed over either. I think she teased Phineas Godwin that she was going to have sexual intercourse with him, which of course she did not. And um, and I think they used that for the Body Donnas to defeat the Godwins for the tag team championships, or maybe the Smoking Guns were involved. I really don't remember, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Is that Sunny and the Body Donnas became the tag team champions? So hold on, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Hang on a second. Okie dokie, I'm back, everybody. I didn't even pause it. What I actually did was ran to the bathroom and got back here within a fraction of a second. So, we're talking about the free for all. That same free for all was one of the few times that WWE fired back at WCW in their games with their Huckster and Nacho Man, Ted Turner spoofs and what have you. Not well received and a bit of a letdown. They had Hulk Hogan be like 80 years old with a walker and everything else, and I give the Huckster Nacho Man match 5 stars. That match gets 5 stars. The Godwins and Body Donnas get 5 stars. Those matches are not on the Peacock or any network, I don't think. I haven't seen them in 25 years, but they all get 5 stars. Everything gets 5 stars when I do old pay-per-views. Take that. Okay, let's start the actual show. One of the fun things about these WrestleManias, even in as late as '96, is that they start quickly. There's like a graphic, there's like maybe a 1 or 2 minute video package. Usually Freddie Blassie's involved somehow. They're always in black and white. Something about a boyhood dream, and there's Shawn and a rugged old something something. There's Bret, and they were motherfucking Bret throughout the thing, but I'll get to that later. And something, there's a shot of Taker real quick, and a shot of Diesel real quick, and maybe one of Warrior because he was returning that day. That's it. They just gave you the point. Here's the point. It's like a minute and a half. These are the main things you need to know. And then there's Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler standing at ringside. You will never see that again. There's no more ringside. And they just start the music of the people who are about to wrestle in the first match, and that's it. They didn't have a big long pre-show thing where they tell you the first match like 10 minutes before it happens, and you go, there's no. I love that surprise pop of what's the first match. There's that big explosion, fireworks. Hey, it's WrestleMania. Everyone cheer. And 2 minutes in, that's it. Like we're already like, so like a little pause, and then we hear the music, and you get to hear the people's reaction to that music. I like that. I also like those older WrestleManias where someone is just in the ring. Like that always kind of makes me laugh now, but I don't mind it. The first match is a 6-man tag team match. Jim Cornette manages Vader, the British Bulldog, and Owen Hart, none of which are any longer with us, that entire team. And Ahmed Johnson teams with Jake the Snake Roberts, who is miraculously still here, plus Yokozuna, who, of course, is no longer. I'm not going to tell you all the dead people throughout this show. They have a 6-man tag team match, and the match is Owen and Davey get in there and take some bumps for Ahmed, and that's pretty much what it is. Vader and Yoko do their thing. This is when big men, the beginning of big men moving around a bit. Very interesting. Early on, Vader punches Yoko down in the corner where Yoko ends up falling to his ass. And later, much later, when Yoko gets the hot tag, Yoko does the same thing to Vader. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Huh? George Lucas. I mean, why doesn't anyone like Jar Jar? It's like poetry. He rhymes. Jake was in there, of course, wearing his wacky vest. That's when he was a religious, recovering alcoholic or something. I'm not kidding. And eventually, Vader splash from Vader, go figure, onto Jake the Snake Roberts. 1, 2, 3, match gets 5 stars. And that was that. So this was the history forgets this part too. Is even in my 16-year-old brain, like they said, the stipulation was if the good guys win, then I think Yoko gets 5 minutes or something like that with Jim Cornette to beat him up or something. That had to be a corny idea because that's so old school. So my 16-year-old brain thought, well, obviously the good guys are going to win because why would they even bother bringing that up? And the bad guys won, so fuck you. That's fine. I mean, what would you do with this? The thing. What would you do with Yoko and Jim Cornette for 20 seconds, let alone 5 minutes? Now that I think about it, yeah, that sounds fun on paper for the fans. Yay! He's just going to completely squash the guy. the annoying heel manager, but when he's murdering him 30 seconds in, he's just gonna get uncomfortable really fast. But that's just me. That's just me. And Yoko was big at the time. I didn't realize it because we were just used to him being big, but somewhere between his time off, I think when Taker beat him at the '94 Survivor Series and Chuck Norris showed up. I'm not kidding. Somehow between then and he came back at Mania 11 the year before with the tag with Owen, 2 WrestleManias in a row. It didn't work. I mean, it worked, but he was really big. That match was Owen versus the Guns, and then Yoko hit a finish, pretty much. Uh, that's how great Owen was. And Davey, too. Okay. The second match. This is one of those weird historical things. The first time I think they really made a serious attempt at a theatrical match was Piper and Goldust in the Backlot Brawl. Why did this work better and more people are still talking about it than the 88 cinematic matches we've had in the last year? Well, because there's 88 of them, for starters. This was shot. Yeah, there were multiple cameras, which we don't usually like, but I think they used as few cameras as possible and did everything they could to make it look like Piper and Goldust, which was filmed 2 weeks or something like that, like a week or two before the actual WrestleMania. Everything they could to make it look like a fight, and Piper was laying those fists in. He busted his hand open on Goldust. There was blood on Goldust's head. I don't know if it was from Piper's hand or Goldust's head, but either way, real blood looks real. And it was violent and like wonderfully sloppy. They did a little trick with Piper wetting the thing down with a fire hose, so everyone's slipping and sliding left and right. And Goldust is just getting his ass kicked, and his tights are tight, and his wiener's flopping around. Thought I'd bring that up. And there's a bit of a chase thing, and Goldust runs away in a gold Cadillac, because of course he does, and Roddy Piper conspicuously gets into a random white Bronco. Should have been tipped off. And they chase, and then the match is... No one knows how do you win the match? Do you win the match? Is there a pinfall or submission? It's just there's a fight of some sort. That's some sort. Little Danhausen for you. And that's it. It's all anybody knows. So, okay. So they have a fight. Goldust gets beat up pretty good and runs away in a Hollywood backlot. And as far as we were concerned, the audience watching a pay-per-view or the live audience, that's all we knew of what was going to happen. And I imagine this is the first time, especially at a WrestleMania, where a live audience was forced to watch a screen instead of action in the ring. So I think all in all, it was done pretty well, and that audience was not unhappy with that situation. But they can get unhappy with those things real fast. Match gets 5 stars. Stone Cold Steve Austin, managed by the $1 Million Man, and with his $1 Million belt, wrestles Savio Vega. I'm not kidding. Here's another fun WWE revisionist history thing I like to do. They always talk about the ringmaster. Oh, he had to be the ringmaster. I don't think Austin was the ringmaster for 2 months. He happened to be at the '96 Rumble, and I think he'd only been wrestling there like a week or so, or on TV a week or so, or something like that. So, really, if by WrestleMania March 31st he was literally called Stone Cold Steve Austin, then that means roughly at least a month would have gone by where he was already being called Stone Cold, because they wouldn't do a name change and then have him at a match in Mania like on drop of a dime. So I can't imagine that far into March of '96 he was the ringmaster. So really, I think they brought back Brother Love once for one of those segments, where he was still called Stone Cold even back then. So I don't know. I'm just saying, because the ringmaster was such a silly name and such a bad thing for him, they love to bring it up. But really, it seemed like he spent more time as Stone Cold Steve Austin, but managed by the $1 Million Man, and acting like the ringmaster. But he wasn't called that. He was actually still called Stone Cold. Interesting things during this match. So during this match, they go twice. They go live to a phone call on a cellular phone, as Vince McMahon described it. I love it. From Roddy Piper, who is on the phone, and he twice refers to Goldust as a fruitcake, because he's insulting the man's alleged sexual orientation or perceived orientation, sexual preference, or what have you. He calls him a fruitcake. Those are Piper's words, not mine. I'm just saying. And the idea of this whole story was, Jesus Christ. This wasn't even really cool in 96, by the way. The idea of this story was, hey, we gotta beat the gay out of Goldust. Fucking wrestling, man. I'm not kidding. Well, and it's not as bad as what Piper did at WrestleMania 6 years earlier, but be that as it may. Savio and Austin are having a slow start, and again, if the people just watched action on a screen, and now they're watching a match, which really is not that much of an important match on the show, no offense. And they start getting into it, because Savio and Austin are just so good. People start popping for wacky things. It's been like a week, so I really don't remember what, but people start getting into this match that they're not supposed to care about, which is cool. It just shows you how good they both were. Did it go a little long? Probably, because we have to, now the match has to go picture in picture once again, or a split screen, excuse me, to show literal footage from the O.J. Simpson car chase, I think about 2 years earlier. Literal footage. 2 or 3 years earlier. And say that's Roddy Piper. And the live audience sees it because you can hear the groans. Big Pop Savio hits a big spinning kick. Austin's starting to get over. They're really getting behind him. Oh, he goes over. Excuse me. Maybe he wasn't getting over. It's been a while. It's been a week. I forgot. They show Austin wins in such an odd finish. There was a ref bump, and this was strange because there's another ref bump later in the main event. But this is one of those ref bumps where the referee's down, but not for very long. Austin takes the $1 million belt. Savio is actually laying face down with his upper half hanging over the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring, if you didn't know. And Austin whacks him with the belt, the $1 million belt, and then puts the $1 million dream on, so he plies the hold on an unconscious guy. And the referee rings the bell. Austin wins. They show more OJ footage. Obviously, this is the first WrestleMania appearance and victory for Stone Cold Steve Austin. One of the last times you're going to see the $1 Million Man is gone, like about a month or two after this. Like a month later, whatever that, one of those, like 2 months, one of those in your houses where the power went out or something. Anyway, yeah, it was a lot of Austin and Savio for several months. It was a lot of those two. The Mr. Perfect interviews Big Daddy Cool Diesel, was not afraid of The Undertaker. This was one of the last times you'd see Perfect in WWF for a while, and Diesel had already given his notice. So he's cool as a cucumber. No defense to The Undertaker because he hates cucumbers. I was just thinking about that. He just kind of says he's not afraid of the dark and the dead man and all that stuff, but really one of the best versions of Diesel. Yeah, I don't have a lot of funny stuff to say about these shows. I'm just kind of enjoying them and then telling you why I enjoyed them. And then we see more OJ. So we have 2 Roddy Piper fruitcake phone calls and 2 OJ Simpson footages so far. Hunter Hearst Helmsley arrives with the debut of Sable. Sable debuts in the same match where the Ultimate Warrior returns. How about that? It's like poetry, it rhymes. I did it again. And Triple H, in a minute and a half, loses to the returning Ultimate Warrior. So they had done this thing on TV for months and months. Not like a month. Of Jerry Lawler saying all these rumors about the Ultimate Warrior. He's 400 pounds, and he's bald, and he's this and that. And Warrior shows up. His hair's a little blonder, but he's in great shape. He's got a wacky jacket thing. It's a little odd, and people are kind of happy to the start. You all know the match. There's some fireworks. It's like an overproduced Ultimate Warrior, and even in '96, which is really not that far removed, it's only a few years after his main run. It just doesn't look right. Like I've always stared at it, like trying to get into it, but Warrior to me he needs to come out of. He needs to be running through those gritty blue and white Madison Square Garden walls you see for 2 seconds, which I used to think was the coolest thing as a kid to see like 2 seconds of a hallway behind the curtain, which is just a hallway. It really does nothing. Um, he needs to occasionally have that aisleway that is tilted and not ideal for running through. It needs to be dirtier with the Warrior for some reason. And this was, and again, like video quality is a little better at this time, and it just doesn't quite register. It already, it's only 3 years, 3.5 years since we've seen him, and it already feels more watered down. And really, his '92 run kind of felt that way too, but yeah, there's just something about it. It's just not clicking. It just wasn't never really clicking with me. Is it the jacket? I don't know. I don't even think it's that. I think it's just the fireworks and the very deliberate. Okay, this is the Ultimate Warrior symbol, and it's gonna light up, and we're gonna put it here. And now hit his music. Like, no, the Ultimate Warrior things shouldn't be that planned. They shouldn't be that pre-planned for the Ultimate Warrior. It should be chaos. It's people went bananas for his return in '92. Well, no one saw it coming, but wanted it to happen, and it was just so sporadic. Because he hits the ring, and I think he hit like one clothesline on Shango or something like that. Nothing really to write home about. and but there was this chaotic. He's capable of anything feel, and when there's fireworks in place in parts of the ring that were going to light up, it just doesn't feel like anything can happen. It feels like we're going to. It doesn't feel like the Ultimate Warrior is invading. It feels like the Ultimate Warrior is being paraded. It doesn't feel right. But anyway, Pedigree pops right up. Clothesline tackle, Gorilla Slam splash, knees on chest, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, fuck you, bye. 5 stars. Oh, I said that. I said a Cornette thing. Oh, this week's Jim Cornette drive-through experience, episode 192. At 3 hours and 6 minutes in, they introduce a song because they take song submissions. Bob, Jacking It in San Diego. That's me. So if you listen to the Jim Cornette's drive-through, happy 75th episode to me. 3 hours and 6 minutes in, episode 192 of the Jim Cornette drive-through. There's the Jim Cornette experience as well. It's a different one. But the Jim Cornette drive-through just came out on Tuesday of this week. The 7th, 18th, whatever it is. Okay. How about that? Yay! A little nod. Thank you. Uh-oh, I'm losing power. I better plug the goddamn computer in. The whole thing's going to be an abortion. Okay, there it is. So, we go backstage to the debuting Mark Merrow. And Mark Merrow gets into an argument with Triple H, who's yelling at Sable, who's actually his wife. That was, I don't know if you heard that. That was my gimmick going off here. And then they get into a brawl backstage, and a wild man talks about his fire and his passion, and he's a fucking dork. I think Todd Pettingzoo was interviewing him. And Sable's there, and of course the next day I think Merrow shows up with Sable, who's his real-life wife anyway. So Merrow and Sable debut at the same time that the Ultimate Warrior returns. History is being made. Yeah, it was Todd Pettingzoo. More O.J. Simpson footage, and this is why I have nothing positive to say about Peacock. I'm in the middle of watching 1996 WrestleMania with spoofed O.J. Simpson, showing real O.J. Simpson news footage. And I'm interrupted by a 2021 commercial for State Farm Insurance. It doesn't go together. If you pay for the service, you're paying for the service. Why are there still commercials? I really hate it. Wrestling's dead. Diesel wrestles The Undertaker. This match was way better than I remember. Oh man, this was way more fun. They started off hot, which is crazy. One of them attacked Diesel, probably just attacked the Undertaker. So they're just trading blows right away. Taker took a bunch of big bumps for Diesel. Diesel took his sweet time. I think 2 jackknives for the Undertaker. Interesting spot where he would jackknife the Undertaker, go to pin him, and Taker would sit up and give him the goozle, give him the choke. Diesel would hit him down. They did that once, twice, and a third time. Taker works his way back up for a choke slam. Tombstone 1, 2, 3. Match gets 5 stars. But This match gets a little bit overlooked. I think Diesel's on his way out anyway, and it's just one of those weird WrestleMania opponents. Again, the streak was not a thing yet or anything like that, but it was just one of those weird things. Uh, Taker had just been wearing that gray funny mask for a long time. Yeah, big bumps. Taker had to take the two jackknives, the big sidewalk slam, the snake eyes turnbuckle thing. Not for all you G.I. Joe fans. I saw the trailer for the Snake Eyes movie. It's probably going to be arguably the greatest film ever made. So I was happy with this. This was entertaining. One of the things I noticed too. Oh yeah. These old pay-per-views. This is what I noticed. So right after this, they cut back and the two cars arrive. The gold Cadillac and a white Bronco arrive at the Anaheim Pond Arena, whatever it's called. And not only do you see Diesel after being tombstoned to death, just like because things were not as organized, I guess, as they are today. Diesel's just walking by like really quickly on camera, and he knows he's quitting, so he's not even that worried. He's like, "It's not my fault I'm on camera right now," because they're just filming the freaking aisle. So he's just taking his gloves off or his wrist tape or whatever the hell it is. But you could see this here, and this is so fun in old pay-per-views from '96 and before. You don't have to look too hard, but if you look closely, you can see Pat Patterson accidentally in so many shots on all these old pay-per-views. Mania, I mean, there's Mania 5s and Mania 4 and that kind of thing where he's just like, he's always like guarding Elizabeth or whatever. But even still, all the old SummerSlams, whatever, Rumbles, watch them. Don't watch them just for this, as that's a waste of your time. But if you happen to be watching old pay-per-views, you don't have to look that hard. If they do anything backstage, because there weren't many backstage segments going on with during pay-per-views at the time. Anything backstage though, you can see Pat Patterson accidentally in so many shots, and it's the funniest thing. They didn't care. Okay. Goldust and Piper brawl out to the ring to finish their fight. I made a note that they didn't play any music, like, hey, they just arrived, because why would they play music? These guys chaotically and according to this in this universe just showed up at the arena finishing this fight. Why would music even be ready? Now, on spur of the moment run-ins, we have music and fireworks and everything else. Logos across the screen. Like, why would we be prepared for this? Because we gotta overproduce shit to justify our jobs. So Goldust and Piper just drags Goldust out to the ring and just starts beating him. Goldust fights back with some low blows, of course, because he's obsessed with Piper's wiener. He tries to kiss him, and Piper beats him up for being gay or something, and then rips off his gold tights. And Marlena's out there, and my underwear move. And then he takes off Goldust's gold thing, and Goldust is wearing women's lingerie, so he's a cross dresser. So we shamed him. And then he cannot do any of this today. And Piper celebrates. There you go. Piper beat him up for the good guy beat him up for being gay, and then there you go. So that was fun. And we see a package about HBK and Bret, and this was great. HBK is backstage before this hour-long match. HBK cuts a promo for 10 seconds. Bret Hart cuts a promo for 20 seconds. And we go to the match. That's it. We don't need a 5-minute long history of everything that's happened on TV ever. From as many different angles and as many different filters and all this shit. Just a quick reminder. Hey, I'm coming for you, and this is why. Oh yeah, well, I'm ready for you, and this is why. Go to the match. This is also the only title match on this show, which I don't think I realized when I was 16. So the free-for-all was on the, what do you call it? The tag team championships were on the free-for-all. Who the hell was the Intercontinental champ? It might have just been Goldust. Because Goldust beat Razor at the Rumble. Yeah, I think Goldust was the IC champ. I don't even remember them bringing that up. I'm sure they did. I'm sure he had it on his shoulder at some point just to remind us. But yeah, I guess you couldn't have Piper pin him then. That's why there was no pinfall or actual end to that match. Piper just beat him up for being homosexual, and then they played his music. Yeah, that makes sense then, I guess. Yeah, don't have a pin because Goldust is the freaking champ, and we can't put the thing on Piper because he's not around. Okay. Howard Finkel introduces this match. Gorilla Monsoon is brought to the ring, reintroduced to us as president by Howard Finkel. I think Gorilla was standing there already. Actually, they didn't even do like a big production. I'm sure having a match that has to go an hour, that you can't cut time because there's a clock on the damn thing. Plus, there's overtime stuff. I'm sure that because this pay per view on Peacock was like a hair under 3 hours. So I'm sure people were sweating that shit for getting off the air. Jose Lothario enters, and he's old, and he takes 4 days to get there. A poor guy, and then he stands on a first turnbuckle and points, and Shawn Michaels comes in on the famous zip line, that shot they've shown. And this is funny too, because Hebner, was it Shawn Michaels lands in the middle of, he doesn't land anywhere near the ring. Like, it doesn't, I mean, I didn't expect him to hit it perfectly, but he's not going to land right on the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring. And he just kind of lands in a crowd, and a bunch of security guards had just had to run in and unhook him, which is, they don't really show that part in the video packages. And of course, historically, you'll see clips now of Vince McMahon putting the harness on and taking the ride down. I think I've seen a picture of him wearing the harness, but not taking the ride down. But yes, Vince had to do it, you know. Won't let them do anything I wouldn't do. Well, okay. Very good. Bret Hart enters as well and gives his glasses to his son. He kind of messes with his sons, like he messes with one of their hats, like pulls it over the kid's eyes or something like that, and puts glasses on the other kid, Blade, I think. And what happens next? I forget. Earl Hebner reads off the instructions, which is a little long, but it was kind of funny. But yeah, they treated it like a championship bout as much as possible. Bret Hart shook Gorilla Monsoon's hand, and they are treating it very seriously, like we're about to see the greatest match of all time. And at the time we kind of did. So of course it's a one match show, and we kick it off. This is the hour, so I'm gonna do every second of the match. No, I'm not. Wow. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the concept, the match will go an hour, and whoever wins the most times in that hour is the winner. So it can be 1-0, 3-2, 5-8, 6-4. It could be whatever the hell. But they start off. I love this. They take their sweet time, and it seems, and it's a little nervous. I was still nervous watching it back, and it was 25 years ago, because that crowd, they're pretty quiet for those headlocks and those headlock takedowns for that first 10 minutes. And but they're taking their time. Bret's letting Shawn out wrestle him a bit. He's letting Shawn do some arm drags. They'll do like a long headlock, run a spot. Shawn will get that arm drag, regroup, yada yada yada. And Vince, more so, watch it for this if you're going to watch this match. Vince on commentary, because it's a babyface match, is telling us as much as possible. He cannot get off Shawn's dick during this entire match. Holy shit. He cannot browbeat it, because Vince doesn't do subtle. He cannot browbeat it any further into our brains that Shawn Michaels has Bret's number, and he's so great and so youthful and so awesome. And maybe Bret was a little slower there. Maybe trying to suggest Bret is, and then Bret, even though it was a babyface match, obviously Bret took the heel role, um, being not necessarily breaking rules, but just being more aggressive and ultimately providing the heat that Shawn has to make a comeback from. But he had to take his time, so he took his sweet time establishing Shawn. Might be a hair quicker here and a hair quicker there, but he's still got his number here and there, and he's the one who gets rough first. It was 45 minutes to go, so it was 15 minutes in, and this is what a high spot is, okay? Everyone thinks a high spot is a big dive or a big bump or big. No, not really. It can be, and it usually is now, but it's a high spot's a big important part of the match where you tell a story. So when Cesaro wrapped his arm around the ring post wrestling Roman a couple of days ago, that's a high spot because that's a spot where this is you have to do this spot to tell the story of this match. It needs to be there. It's critical. Now, if Roman jumps or works on Cesaro's arm with 2 arm bars or 3 arm bars, it's kind of inconsequential, but that ring post spot had to be there. Okay. Uh, so the big stories. There's like 3 or 4 of them in this match. These spots that had to be there just to show you how his demeanor was coming in, which was already kind of like he played it a little salty coming in, and how he just got grumpier as the process went on. So they do a spot where Shawn goes to super kick Bret on the outside of the ring. Bret moves. Shawn kicks the timekeeper, and yes, he did the leg slap. Oh, did he ever? You can see it a million miles an hour. And Shawn shows frustration, and Bret, of course, shows no care, almost pretty much setting up the timekeeper, but leaving it a little vague for as to how much he actually cares about this guy. Was it Tony Chimmel? Because it wasn't the ring announcer, it wasn't Finkel. Who the hell would have announced the winner later? I don't know. And also, they have to make a big production. They don't just ignore the guy or just pretend he's dead or have him disappear off camera. They have to go get him. Officials have to come and take the guy out, or I think they stretchered him out or something from a super kick from Shawn, which is funny. But they take him out, and of course, Bret wisely applies a chin lock during all of this because they're not looking at the wrestlers anyway. So he gives not so much a breather, but he gives Shawn something to fight out of. And Bret can make all the facial expressions he wants during that chin lock to show, hey, I kind of don't care about any of this. I just want to win this match and keep my title. Because he says in his 20-second promo before this, I just want to wake up tomorrow. I just want to wake up with this. At one point, yes, and then while he has that chin lock on, you can see Bret's getting a little aggravated with the referee, Earl Hebner. But he's not full on heel. Hey, you stupid dummy, I'm the greatest. He just gets a little annoyed. He says, "Ask him, ref. You're not asking him." He goes, "It's not a staring contest. Ask him." It's great. You just see Bret getting frustrated. He's not turning heel. And it's a sweet time. 30 minutes in, we do a ref bump, and it's not a ref bump. This is when they understood that a referee being nudged by a giant athlete shouldn't still mean that the referee's knocked unconscious for 5 minutes. It's just, okay, Bret did a move. Bret goes to the top, which he never does. He kind of puts his knee into Shawn's back to drive Shawn's face into the mat. Earl Hebner got caught in the way, and Earl got knocked down. But then he doesn't play. He doesn't play dead. He's shaking. He's getting up slowly and shaking off cobwebs, and it's just enough of knocking Earl around to distract from. Bret would have covered Shawn. One of them covered the other one. I would assume Bret would cover Shawn to add to the frustration. That's probably what happened. And he just hit a move anyway. So I'm sure, yeah, Bret covered Shawn. And just to provide a hair of doubt and add to Bret's aggravation, that's 30 minutes in. When we have 23 minutes left, we do one of those. It's so dizzying and disorienting. Shawn gets backdropped over the top rope, well over the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring. Lands on top of a cameraman, and of course they stay with that camera, so it's very dizzying and disorienting, and it makes Shawn's bump look even crazier than it was. So it was good stuff. He wasn't quite like the year before where Shawn did something similar. He landed on a photographer and just dragged the guy and threw him somewhere. Because Shawn was a heel there. But this was close. And Bret, at 16 minutes in, Bret throws Shawn into the steps, and Shawn knocks into Jose. And Bret shows no care about Jose Lothario. And now that's the beginning. That's Bret getting even more upset because the Bret from a few months ago would have still at least respected Jose Lothario. Bret is just annoyed with Shawn. He's annoyed that Shawn's kicking out. He's giving Shawn all these moves. That's with 16 minutes to go. The last 5 minutes, Bret is just working Shawn's back. Everything you can do. They're both taking hard turnbuckles. Bret's turnbuckles and Bret and Take are the best turnbuckles there are. And Shawn's were great here too. Big backdrop. Big backdrop in the middle of the ring for Shawn. Um, maybe that was during the sudden death. It was either close to this end or during the sudden death. There was a big backdrop for Shawn. I forget. Would have made more sense here. With 30 seconds to go. And again, no one's beating anyone. It's 0-0. And the audience is biting their nails like, oh my god, no one's going to win this. It's going to be a draw. Surely in the last 3 seconds, somebody's pinning somebody, right? Right? No. Shawn goes not really in much of an attempted drop kick, but just kind of jumps off the second rope. Bret catches him. Shawn takes that bump on his back. Sharpshooter for the last 30 seconds. And we've established for years that to be in a sharpshooter for any amount of seconds is very, very painful. So after an hour of a hellacious beating, Shawn has to survive this thing for 30 seconds. And that's just to make the thing a draw. Shawn theoretically wouldn't even win the championship this way. But that's just so he just doesn't lose this fall. But anyway, Shawn holds out. He says no, and there's no tapping yet. So you just had to kind of wait to see what if the referee said the guy gave up, it's really what you waited on. It's one of the only modern changes I really prefer. Like, okay, the tapping is a visual, so we can see it, and that's good. But anyway, maybe we could if tapping existed if tapping was as prevalent, at least in WWE during Montreal, maybe the whole thing wouldn't have worked. It didn't work. It wasn't supposed to. So it's a draw. Bret says, give me my belt. It's a draw. He walks away. He doesn't attack Shawn. He doesn't cheap shot Shawn. Match is over. It's a draw. Champion keeps the championship. So thank you, goodbye. He's leaving. He's not doing anything wrong. But he's not going to be that gracious either. He's just doing his business and walking off. And Gorilla makes an announcement. And this is really smart too, because Bret, still being the veteran, looks over his shoulder at Gorilla and the referee talking. And he kind of looks over his shoulder 2 or 3 times, being like, wait, what is this? Like, I know something's coming. I'm about to be messed with. It's not my first day here. I'm not just going to run off. And also, he can't run off because he's got to finish that match. And, of course, they make the announcement. The president says you got to continue for a sudden death rule. So basically have a match. And, of course, Bret, with with a great argument, why? Why would we do this? What is the purpose of this? I shouldn't have to do this. According to the rules of the match, this was a draw. I've done everything you wanted me to do. I should still be the champion. He's 100% right, but it's just not fun. It's not a fun ending, even if it's a right ending. So, and really, him and Shawn just do like 2 minutes, not even worth. Yeah, I don't remember if that big backdrop was in there, but I know Shawn took a big one. It was great. At some point during the regular hour, Bret, I think towards the end, Bret gave Shawn a belly to back off the second and a superplex too. I think Bret did the superplex off the top, which is very un-Bret like, but they did it so much faster than the guys today, so that you weren't watching them balance each other up there for long at all. It's still a little wacky, but it wasn't nearly as this big long production as it is today. You know, Bret put Shawn where he wanted to put him. He suplexed him basically first, like crotch first on the top turnbuckle, and then just kind of walked up, grabbed him, and did it. And they just went. And there was not too much time for the audience to go, hey, how are they helping each other up there? So he's killing Shawn's back. And I remember those old rings because I was trained in that ring. Not that specific ring. That ring canvas they cut apart and sold to the fans for some reason. I don't know why. To make money. And but yeah, it was true. Safa had Vince's old ring, so I know what it felt like. At 185 pounds, it was not fun. So can't imagine those guys doing that every day. We were doing it 2, 3 times a week and dying. So they're 6, 7 times a week. I'm sure it was killing them. But what happens? There's a super kick out of nowhere on Bret, and Bret, even though it's Shawn's finisher, Bret hasn't taken an offensive move in a long time now. So Bret's down, but he's shaking it off. He's like trying to recollect. He's stunned. He's stunned. That's the best word. More than dead. He's not knocked out. He's stunned. He's always getting to his senses. and Shawn tunes up the thingy. I think originally he threw Shawn into the turnbuckle. Shawn did the up and over. Bret ducked, and maybe Shawn hit it or something like that. And Shawn hits the move, and he's dead first as Bret's working his way up, and then Shawn hits it again, rolls him up 1, 2, 3, or hooks both legs 1, 2, 3. And this is where I always look for the historic. The story is Shawn told the referee, tell him to get the fuck out of the ring. It's my moment, kind of thing. I can't see exactly where it is, but there's a ton of stuff being said between Shawn and Hebner, so who knows? Shawn never denied that. He said, I might have said that. I don't remember. Bret's like, oh, you was disrespectful, and Bret's right. So Bret was the hero here. Uh, Good WrestleMania. Here's an epilogue. Um, about a month or two afterwards, I'll say June after this, I went to the Jefferson Valley Mall with my good buddy, Cousin Luke. Whoa, Cousin Luke. Might be listening to this. And we went to get autographs, like wrestling magazines, old wrestling magazines signed by Bret the Hitman Hart at the JV Jefferson Valley Mall in Northwest Chester, New York. And I said something. I'm 16 too, and I'm kissing Bret's ass because why wouldn't I? This is fun. I was so nervous. I never met a celebrity before of any kind, and I said to Bret, something about we miss you. I miss having you on TV as the champion. You know, I'm not really liking Shawn too much or something like that. And he said this to me. Bret Hart looked at Bob Hansen at some point in history and said, Shawn Michaels could never fill my shoes. And sometimes when I watch things like The Wrestling with Shadows or any kind of one of the 8 Million Montreal documentaries or any of that, or any interview with Bret where Shawn's name inevitably comes up, sometimes I always wonder, was I the straw that broke the camel's back? Was I the one who pissed off Bret once and for all? And obviously, I'm not the only fan to say that to him, but I'm just wondering, like, what if of all the hundreds and thousands of people who said something to him, I really like you better than Shawn. Wish you were champ instead of Shawn. That was a stupid ending, man. They cheated you because it should have been a draw. You were right, and he was right under the rules of that match. Then they changed the rules so Shawn could win, and Vince McMahon was constantly insinuating that Bret Hart was a step older, a step slower, a step grumpier, maybe a little insecure. Like he was motherfucking Bret on commentary, probably by design, but still. But he could not tell us. Vince McMahon and for Shawn Michaels, it was like the guy who just saw a movie and and you're about to see it, and the guy can't stop telling you how great the movie is, and the guy overhypes it so much that it's never going to live up. Like, I would have liked this movie. I would have been perfectly fine with this movie, but you kept insisting it was the greatest thing in the world. And now I like it just fine. Because you overdid it. But subtle is not what Vince McMahon does. So I do hope I am the straw that broke the camel's back with Bret Hart. Maybe I'm the one. I ruined the whole thing. I ruined it. I ruined everything. That's WrestleMania 12. 75th episode. Thank you very much, Bob Squad, for joining me 75 times. There should be an NXT coming up, NXT edition, a 76th one coming up in the very near future as well. That's going to be late. No one listens to those things, honestly. So slightly bigger numbers go to Raw and the pay-per-views, too. And the toy stuff. People like the toy stuff more than anything. There's WrestleMania 12. And you know what? Maybe wrestling didn't work out for me. But when it comes to Lonely Man podcasts about old wrestling shows, you know what? Shawn Michaels couldn't fill my shoes.